Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please subscribe to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms are at N2EFantasy. We are also now available on all major podcasting platforms. Please search N2EFantasy to find us. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
Today's show is our Week 7 preview. So we will go over the matchups that we have in Week 7. We will just mention right here that there are 6 teams out on bye. That's Carolina, Cincinnati, Dallas, Houston, the New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans. So if you have those guys, take them out of your lineups. We will go through these matchups, talk about who we're starting. Since there are so many teams on bye week, there's going to be a lot more guys that we have to start that we normally wouldn't. And we're going to assume that for 2 quarterback leagues, you pretty much have to start whatever quarterbacks you have available. So when we talk about start for quarterback, it'll be for single quarterback leagues pretty much only. So take that as you will, and we will get started. If there's any news we haven't covered in the previous episode, we'll try to cover here too as well. So let's start with the Jaguars at the Saints, Jeff. Who are we starting? Who are we avoiding here?
Oh boy, so this game is coming up really quick on us. We don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to be healthy, but if he is, you are going to be playing him this week because, as we mentioned, it is by Mageddon Part 1. Part 2 is in a few weeks during Week 13. There's another 6 teams on bye that week as well. So we got a couple by Mageddons coming up, which aren't really good for fantasy lineups, but it's really good to get an upset if your opponent has bye weeks and you do not. But it really stinks if it's the other way around. As I'd mentioned previously, ETN is a must start all formats going forward. So we're going to be starting him. Kamara is becoming a must start. Carr makes Kamara playable. Ingram is a must start, and you're going to start all wide receivers in this matchup. So you're going to start Thomas, Olave, Ridley, and Kirk in this matchup. If desperate, you can start Derek Carr or Taysom Hill at tight end because we might be scrounging for tight ends this week. But anyone that I'm missing out or anyone that you would definitely stay away from in this matchup?
No, I pretty much agree with you. Carr and Taysom Hill are both desperation modes, and you're starting both starting running backs, and I pretty much agree. All the wide receivers, basically, for both these teams. So I would be excited for this matchup. If Lawrence is out, I would start the Saints defense. That's just my thought there for you guys. I know we don't talk about them much, but defenses do matter. But Jeff, if you don't have anything else, we can move on to the Falcons at Buccaneers.
All right. So for this matchup, actually, who did you have winning the Saints and the Jaguars?
Good call.
This is a
I'm
great
gonna go
Thursday
against the
night
grain.
game.
I'm gonna go against the grain, and I'm gonna go Saints.
I'm going to go with the green, and I'm going to go Saints because they're at home.
No. Well, you like the home thing.
I do.
I like the better team thing. So
The
I think
Superdome.
the Saints with Carr is better than the Jaguars, potentially without Lawrence. I think that the Saints defense is better than the Jags defense. I think the Jags offense is probably a little bit better if Lawrence is there. I think the Saints offense is better if Lawrence isn't. So I just think overall it should be the Saints.
All right.
Okay.
So the Saints go marching in for us. And as we were getting started with the Falcons and the Buccaneers, I'm going to start off this matchup by saying I'm going to be taking the Buccaneers in this matchup, which is really interesting that the Buccaneers will be in first place after 7 weeks if they win, because we would have never predicted that to begin the season. I'm starting Bijan, London, and Pitts, so all of the Falcons' first-round picks, and I'm assuming you're starting Jonnu Smith, because I know you have a soft spot for Jonnu, especially if I'm mentioning Pitts' name. For the Buccaneers, I'm probably going to continue to strut out Rashad White, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. And if I can, I'm going to be benching Baker Mayfield. What are your thoughts there?
No, I pretty much agree with everything that you said. I think that a lot of 2 quarterback leagues are going to have to start both these quarterbacks. I think it should be close to a 50-50 game. I do think that the Bucs are going to come back strong after the way they lost last week against Detroit. So I will also take the Buccaneers in this one. I expect them to play a little bit better, but it will be a tough matchup in division. So I agree with all the points that you made about the players too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will see who ends up winning that matchup. But I'm 2 for 2 on home teams. I'm going to continue that streak. I believe that the home teams win out at the
Hmm.
end of the year, but who knows at this point?
We'll, we'll see if you're 3 for 3 with this next matchup. Let's go Bills at Patriots. Or do you dare? Do you dare pick the Patriots?
Yes, I'm taking the Yes, I am taking the New England Patriots in this matchup. We will see what happens in this matchup, but that is actually false. I'm going to go the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to start Josh. I'm going to start Cooks. I'm going to start Diggs. I'm going to start Davis. Davis did lose out on targets after he fumbled last week. I'm going to start Stevenson, who actually looked like he rebounded a bit. If I'm desperate, I'm starting Knox/Kincaid if he's playing. I do expect Kincaid to come on in the second half of the year. And then if I'm desperate, I'm also starting Hunter Henry, but I don't expect him to be a great start. Anyone that I'm missing, but I'm going Buffalo in this game in case you missed that.
Worry, Jeff. I will edit all that out. I am taking the Bills. Sure, the Patriots could surprise. They've done it before, but it's got to be the Bills in this one, despite their offensive woes. I agree with you. I mean, I'm starting Josh Allen. I'm not touching a Patriots quarterback unless I'm absolutely desperate in a two quarterback play. Starting Cook, starting Diggs. I will give Davis another chance. Stevenson, I will I'll start him. I'll even consider Elliott as a flex. Hunter Henry, I don't know about Knox or Kincaid. Like if I don't have another tight end option, yes. But I feel better about Hunter Henry, which doesn't say a lot, but Hunter Henry has been performing well other than this past week. So I will start Hunter Henry. I mean, Bill's defense in this one too, and heavy consideration for you guys out there. So I am taking the Bills, and I agree with most of everything you said. So we can
Oh,
now
great.
move on to the Browns at the Indianapolis Colts. Jeff, you taking the home team again?
Man, I think Watson's going to miss this game, so I think I might have to go Indy in this game. I don't really feel super confident in PJ Walker, but the Browns defense is being generational at this exact point in time. So we'll see if they can keep up that pace. But give me the Browns in this matchup, but I don't feel super confident about it. And then if we're talking about players in this matchup, I'm going to start Moss and Taylor until Taylor takes the reins back from that starting job, which will happen at some point this year. I'm going to start Pittman and Cooper. And if I'm desperate, I'm going to start Ford and Downs. And I would consider Minshew because we do have the 6 teams on a bye as well. But don't feel good about it playing the Browns at all. He's a complete shot in the dark play.
Yeah, I think the Browns should win this one, even with PJ starting, if PJ does end up starting. But it should be a relatively close game. I think that the Colts defense is okay. They're not great. The offense is okay. So the offense is probably better than the Browns offense, just marginally. And it is at home. But I will pick the Browns. I think you start all the running backs. You start Moss and Taylor. You start Ford and Hunt. I think you start Pittman and Cooper, maybe Downs if you really need to. That's about it. You could potentially start either one of these defenses. You can start either one of these kickers, probably as well. It shouldn't be a high scoring game. So that's just what we're left with at this point. But I agree, Browns in this one.
Yeah, I don't feel really confident about it. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the next game. But that should actually be a good game, but it might be a defensive game, which isn't always the most fun games to watch on Red Zone. But moving forward, we have Detroit at Baltimore. Who do you have in this game, and who are you starting in this matchup?
You know I got to go with my my side team, my Lions here.
Your side
So
piece.
I yeah, I'm going with the Lions in this one. It should be a good game. I really hope it's a good game. I think the Lions are the better team. I think that you start both quarterbacks, Lamar and Goff. I think that you start Flowers, you start Andrews, start St. Brown. I think you could start Williams with the Lions, Jameson, that is. If Gibbs plays, I think you got to play him if you need a running back. So I think you start Laporta. He played well, even on an injured calf this past week. So that's where I'm at with that team. Maybe if I'm desperate, I'd play OBJ, but I wouldn't feel great about that. Jeff, who do you have in this one? Who else would you start or avoid? How do you feel about this?
So in this matchup, I can't believe I mean, OBJ is virtually not even. He's becoming like almost not rosterable at this point. Like he's just not been good this year. Um, and I know some of it's due to the injury that he's battling. Andrews hasn't been good this year. Only good aspect of the offense has been Lamar and Flowers, and I expect that to continue. They need a running back. They need a running back to take some of the pressure off of Lamar, and they just don't really have that running back right now with Edwards and Hill. But I'm starting Goff in this matchup. I'm starting St. Brown in this matchup. If desperate, Reynolds and whatever healthy Detroit running back there is, because we don't know if Gibbs is going to be healthy. We still don't know how long Montgomery is going to be out as of recording this. Craig Reynolds looks serviceable for at least 1 week, but I don't expect him to be the long-term solution. Who did you take in this matchup?
I took Detroit.
Okay, I'm going to go the Ravens in this matchup. I feel really strong about the home advantage that the Ravens get. They do play good enough defense to probably keep Detroit a little more lower scoring. I did notice Williams show up for the Lions after a suspension, an injury, and another injury. So the second-year wide receiver showed up, Jamison Williams. Are you starting him
Yep,
this
he's
week?
one of the guys. He's one of the guys that I think people can start this week.
You
Wide
think
receiver
so?
3 or flex. Yep, I think
Ooh.
so. I think you almost have to if you're desperate at wide receiver.
And then I
So
didn't mention Laporta either, but I would be starting him. He's a top
yeah.
3 tight end right now, and I expect him to be very highly drafted in 2024. But give me the Ravens in this one, and we can move forward.
Okay. We got a couple of bad matchups coming up, so all right, let's get started with the first one. And that is the Raiders at the Bears. Both of them have injured quarterbacks, not likely to play, so Jimmy Garoppolo is probably out. Fields is probably out. So we don't know if it's going to be Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell, probably Hoyer at this point. I really wouldn't play either quarterbacks, or I wouldn't play Badgett either for the Bears unless I'm in a 2-quarterback league and I'm desperate. That's just how I view it. I would start Jacobs and Adams. They're the star power. They should ideally be quarterback proof, hopefully. Maybe Myers, maybe Jacoby. So Jacoby, maybe Mayer, maybe Komet, Moore. Those are the star power guys there. Man, if Roshan Johnson is cleared to play and he's the starting back for Chicago, I would consider playing him. I probably would if I don't have the running backs this week. Oh, as far as who wins, I'd probably go Raiders. Raiders have more star power right now, and I think that could help them in this matchup. And I think they have the better defense too. So I know it's in Chicago, but I'm going to go Raiders in this one.
Oh boy. This will be a game that is not picked up on Red Zone very often, just based on the quarterback play. But I think Jimmy has a better shot to play this week than Fields, but we'll see if that actually happens. If Jimmy misses, I expect Hoyer to get the start. I know you want to see O'Connell, but I just don't see it happening after his first start, and McDaniels is kind of coaching for his job at this point, so you're going to start the guy that gives you the best chance to win. Let's see here. I like Adams and Myers. Those are must starts, but we need to get Jimmy back into the lineup for those two wide receivers to be really useful. And then DJ Moore, I guess, is useful no matter what at this point. And then if you're desperate, you can start Komet. And then I mentioned on an earlier podcast that Michael Mayer is starting to get some targets. So he's a guy that we want to keep on our fantasy radar, especially because tight end is a wasteland. But in this matchup, I can see the Raiders pulling it out on the road. So I do have a few road teams now. Shock that I took the Raiders?
Nope. I think that they're the smarter bet, and I know how much you hate the Bears this year. So checks out.
I don't hate the Bears now that Fields is out.
Whatever, man. All right, let's move to
I'm
another
just
terrible
messing with
matchup.
you.
Let's
I'm
move
just
to
messing
another
with you.
terrible matchup here with Washington at the Giants. This
Sam
is probably
Howell
going to
time.
be more of a defensive. It's probably going to be a defensive matchup.
Sam Howell
I
time.
don't know. The Giants' defense has actually been fairly serviceable of late. So, and Howell is not incapable of making mistakes. Q his, I think, 6th interception game at some point, or like high interception game at some point. Anyway, I still feel like you have to take Washington, although I think the Giants could get a surprise moral victory here. But I'm going Washington. You're starting Robinson. You're starting Gibson if you need a flex or a desperation running back. I'm starting Barkley on the other side. Barkley and Waller are the only two guys I'm considering starting on all of the Giants. McLaren and Curtis Samuel, I'm starting, and Howell, I'm starting. I don't think I can touch Jahan Dotson until he gets 2 consecutive good weeks in a row. Right now, he's been an afterthought, and it's been very disappointing. But that's it for me. Like I said, I'm taking Washington. Jeff, who do you have in this one?
Oh man, do you think Daniel Jones plays in this game or no?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go Washington in this game because I do think they'll be able to keep Tyrod at bay. I do think that their defense will give them fits. So there is that function of it. We'll see. Whew. I think Brian Robinson could have a big game in this particular game. Barkley could have a big game. McLaurin. I mean, I'm in the if you're desperate, you start Wandell going forward. Is he my first choice at wide receiver? No, but he's a guy that could potentially be a target monster for Tyrod if he plays. And then I love Howell. I mean, I don't think there's going to be 11 better quarterbacks, 12 better quarterbacks to start this week than Sam Howell. I think you're forced to start him at this point during this Fimageddon week. So right now, when we have 26 teams playing, I do believe that Howell is in starting contention for teams that own him. In the leagues that I do own him, I do own Justin Herbert. So obviously I will be benching Howell for Herbert, but he's a really good backup to Herbert for me. But give me Washington in this one. If by chance Daniel Jones is playing, I might switch over to the Giants. They might play with a little bit of fire coming off of the no call at the end of the game. And they might play with a little more fire this week. So just something to keep your eye on. But I only want them if Daniel Jones is playing. And as you had mentioned, you don't expect him to play. So we can move on to the next game here. And speaking of expecting to play, do you expect Kyler Murray to be playing for the Arizona Cardinals in their matchup against the Seattle Seahawks? And does that change your opinion on this matchup?
I wouldn't count on it, and I don't think it makes a difference.
No difference?
No difference.
Wow.
I think Dobbs has, in my opinion, been a better quarterback. I think Murray is obviously more electric on the ground, although Dobbs has surprisingly done well on the ground. I don't think that really moves the needle for me because Murray would be rusty. I don't think Murray is that good of a quarterback to begin with. I do think Murray would be the better fantasy option, so he would move the needle in that regard. But I'm taking the Seahawks in this one. I am starting basically everyone on the Seahawks, starting Geno, Metcalf, Locker, Kenneth Walker, Desperation Mode, Charbonnet, Desperation Mode, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Desperation Mode, Bobo. As far as the Cardinal side, I think in 2 quarterback leagues you can start Dobbs or Murray, whoever ends up playing. I think it's going to be Dobbs. I would start Marquise Brown. I would Desperation Mode start Michael Wilson or Rondale. I'm starting Ertz. I think you can start potentially McBride if you really need a tight end.
Are you
So
starting to
that's an
buy in
option
on
as
him?
well. No, I just think that they're both getting targets. So it's a two tight end system. I don't think either one of them is really outpacing the other one that much at this point. But I'm taking the Seahawks. I think Seahawks are a much better team. I think Cardinals have fight, but I think Seahawks are better. So that's where my head's at in this one. And Jeffrey, I know you despise the Seahawks with a passion and think Geno Smith is the worst quarterback to ever play the game. So how do you feel about this matchup?
So I don't think you have a choice but to start Geno this week and the pass catching options. You can also look at Noah Fant for the pass catching options for the Seahawks. The only Cardinal that I would probably start without hesitation would be Marquise Brown at this exact moment, which is saying something because we're missing Connor, we're missing Murray. Those are must starts in the lineup. And I think if Murray comes back and he develops a chemistry with Michael Wilson, that is something to look at down the stretch. That is a really nice combo right there down the stretch. But we're not there yet. The Seahawks are going to be my lock of the week, and I'm going to pick them here at home. They usually get quite a good home boost. And this does go against one of my rules of picking a divisional matchup. Usually I don't like to pick road teams, and I don't like to pick divisional matchups for the Survivor, Last Man Standing, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to lock up the Seahawks this week. And last week I locked up the Bills and I was sweating, and I'm hoping to have a little bit less sweat on my brow this week after this matchup.
Well, I'm glad you finally came over to the Seahawks side, and I expect you to fully support them for the rest of the year. Okay, let's move on. to the Steelers at the Rams. Jeff, who you got in this one and who you starting?
Oh man! So from the Steelers side, I mean, if you're desperate, you can start Harris or Warren. It's a coin flip. Pickens is the only must start on that offense right now. Freiermuth is a desperation play as well at this point. Oh, in my notes, I forgot this, but Deontay Johnson's back this week, and he's probably a start in league formats right now as well. Now, switching over to the Rams, you're going to want to start Stafford, both pass catchers, Kupp and Puka. And if you're desperate, start Zach Evans, because I do believe he's going to be the guy to get the first crack at the lead job this week. But expect to have Royce Freeman and Myles Gaskin as the 2 and 3 backs active for this matchup. And then if they do want to activate a fourth running back, then they would start Darrell Henderson as well. Tyler Higbee is pretty much an afterthought at this point. But if desperate, keep putting him out there. I don't really see people with a lot of options at tight end at this point. So just something to keep in everyone's mind's eye, and we'll go from there. Anyone that I missed in this matchup, and then I'll give you my pick after that.
I don't know. I want to believe in Evans for this one, but they just brought in two running backs, Darrell Henderson and Myles Gaskin. I would temper your expectations, and I would also potentially throw a waiver claim at Henderson as well, just in case, if you can make that happen. I think it's going to be a committee approach until Kyron Williams is back. And I am glad that you brought up Deontay Johnson. I would have brought him up if you didn't, so kudos for you for grabbing him. I pretty much agree with everything else that you said. I'm starting Pickens and Deontay. I'm starting potentially Harris and Warren if my running back room, if I need to. Koopa, Koopa. I just combined Cup and Puka.
King Koopa.
I'm starting Cup and Puka in any leagues that I have them. Weekly basis, I don't care. I think Stafford is a decent play. I don't know how much. I think his week's limited because I think Steelers do have a decent defense. I know it's in LA, and that would typically swing things towards LA, but Steelers just come off a bye week. Hopefully, they got some things figured out. Hopefully, they plan for this week. So I'm going to go Steelers with this one.
All right, give me the Rams in this one. I just like their offensive power a little bit better, but until the Steelers get rid of Matt Canada, I just don't see it.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Okay, we got another sort of Hackett Bowl with Packers at Broncos. So I know
A
Hackett's
little
no
less
longer
fire
with
in this one.
either of these teams. Yeah, Hackett's no longer with either of these teams, but I think the Broncos are maybe in for another beating. So I'm pretty much starting a bunch of Packers, starting Dobbs and Aaron Jones if he's playing, starting Christian Watson because I like Christian Watson. Musgrave if you need a tight end. On Denver's side, I think you can play Javante. I think you can play Jaleel. Perrine should be out, I think. I don't like Russ or Love, but I think Love would be the better play if you had to play a quarterback, which isn't great. I wouldn't play Sutton or Judy, but that's just me. Jeffrey, I think I'm going to take the Packers. I think that's pretty solid. Who do you have in this one?
I'm going to also take the Packers in this matchup. I don't really love this matchup, mostly because of the quarterback play right now. So that's why they're in my if you're desperate section, Love and Russ. Sutton and Judy are there too. There are trade rumors swirling that Judy could be traded to the Colts now. So there are trade rumors swirling around Judy, and we are roughly 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind during this time. And we will see if the Broncos tear everything apart like we think they will, but you can start Javante and Watson and Dobbs and even Aaron Jones, because I do expect Aaron Jones to be at 100% health going into this matchup. All right, so give
All
me the
right.
Packers in that one.
Okay, let us move on. We have 3 more matchups. We have the Chargers at Chiefs. Jeff, who do you have in this one?
Ooh, this is going to be a great game. This might be the game of the week. Gonna call it right now. They always play pretty close to the wire. All the Charger games are close to the wire. You can start Mahomes, Herbert, Eckler, Pacheco, Kelsey, Allen, Palmer, if desperate, Kadarius Toney. This is a great matchup on paper, and I hope that it performs as well. I expect everyone in the radius of my voice to get this game in the 4 o'clock window, unless you're in a home area for one of the other teams. But this is the game of the week, in my opinion. Very great divisional matchup, and there's going to be a game that right after this in prime time that is also in contention for game of the week. So I'll let you go ahead and let me know if I missed any starters, and then I will be ready to give you my pick because I'm still thinking about this one.
All right. I think that despite everything, you got to keep playing Herbert and Mahomes. You got to keep playing Eckler and Pacheco, Kelsey, maybe Palmer, definitely Keenan Allen, because you and I are 100% in agreement on Keenan Allen for the rest of the season. I don't even want to touch Tony, man. Like any of these other Kansas City receivers are all desperation plays. I mean, you never know which one's going to pop. I think Rice probably has the most upside each week, but at the same time, he has a low floor. We keep waiting for somebody to break out. It hasn't happened yet. So everyone on that team's a lottery ticket. I don't think Chargers outside their top guys. I don't really think that you can play anyone else. Chargers have had some bad luck. Chiefs have been struggling. I think that I want to go Chargers, but they're coming back on a shortened week and they're going to the Chiefs Stadium. So I think I'm going to go Chiefs this one. My heart wants me to pick the Chargers, but I think I have to go Chiefs.
I am going to go the Chiefs in this matchup as well because they are, in fact, the home team.
It's just so simple for you. You don't have to worry about it. You're like, which one's at home? Boom, that team.
Well, if I'm struggling, which I clearly
Mhm.
am here, then basically I just default to the home team.
Okay.
I'm gonna probably do it on the next
Oh,
one
all
here.
right. You might change it up with this next one. So Dolphins at Eagles. I think obviously you play everyone, every single person on. You play the offensive lineman. You know, you play the third tight end. You play the the kick holder. Like you play everyone on both these teams because anyone can score. So no, but for real, you will start both quarterbacks. You will start Swift. You will start um, Mostert. You could potentially start Wilson if he's healthy out of the running back spot. That's Jeff Wilson coming back from IR. You could potentially play um, Gainwell or Boston Scott if you complete desperation mode. Um, Smith and AJ Brown and Goddard. I could play any one of those guys. I can play Waddle and Hill if he's healthy. So I would feel very good about all of those guys. And whew, I think I'm going Dolphins. I think I'm going Dolphins at this one. I think the Eagles are being a little bit exposed right now. So I like the Dolphins in this one. Jeff, how do you feel about this matchup?
Oh boy. So this is another potential matchup of the week, as I had mentioned, which it's really cool that we get so many good matchups in a week. I'm starting everyone in this matchup because this has a chance to be a track meet. In a track meet, I'm going to take the fastest team on the planet, and that's going to be the Dolphins. So I'm going to go road team here.
But wait, Jeff, the Eagles signed Julio Jones. That changes everything, right?
Woo! I think you've got his name wrong. We need to put some emphasis on future Hall of Famer Julio Jones, but I don't expect him to be a contributor this week. I do expect him to be a contributor down the stretch though, and he's someone that actually could lend some veteran presence, and he would definitely play in 3 receiver sets because I believe that they put one of the receivers on IR today.
I would just like to say we should change his name to Just Retire Jones. And I think the sooner he retires, the sooner he gets inducted in the Hall of Fame. So I don't think he has much left in the tank. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just been training like mad and he's like, I'll show you world, I still got it. Maybe that'll happen. I don't think it will. So we'll see. But sooner he retires, quicker he'll be remembered as a Hall of Fame player. So we
That
both got the
is
Dolphins. That's
correct.
awesome. All right. We can move on to a Monday night matchup here. The final game of the week. Jeff, we have the 49ers fresh off of a loss to the Cleveland Browns and the Vikings fresh off of a barely victory against a lowly team as well. So who we got? Who you got in this one?
Oh boy. So I think the 49ers come out in this game swinging after last week, and I think they trounced the Vikings and kind of embarrass them. Um, the only caveat that I would sit here is I know Kyle Shanahan has very strong feelings for Kirk Cousins, and he may not want to do that to Kirk, but we'll see on that front, because I guarantee that at one point Shanahan wanted Kirk Cousins to be his starting quarterback in San Francisco. So let's see here with some starts. So we're going to start all the major players on this one, especially on the 49ers side, but we're going to check on Debo and CMC's health prior to the game. If you're going to ride with them, have a backup plan in place. And I know that's not always the easiest on Monday night. So there may be a few fantasy owners that want to err on the side of caution, then bring it up to the wire with Debo and CMC, who might miss this game. And that kind of brings me to my next point of Jordan Mason. He's a guy that needs to be owned in all leagues, and he's a guy that should have all waiver bids on in all leagues this week. So he might only be a 1 week fill-in, but chances are CMC might miss another week, and I do believe that he might be the primary backup for at least the foreseeable future for CMC when he's back. But give me the 49ers in this one and let me know who I missed.
Well, I think that Minnesota's at home, and
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins is the best primetime quarterback of all time, especially on Mondays, are his
Mm-hmm.
best primetime games. I'm being very sarcastic here, just for you guys out there. It's tough because if the 49ers, who are, when healthy, one of, if not the best team in the league, if they're without Christian McCaffrey and they're without Debo Samuel, then I think that in some ways, on paper, Minnesota lines up very similarly to what Cleveland did just last week. They don't have the defense that Cleveland has, but they do have a better quarterback. So, in some ways, I could see the Vikings win. And if they did, Kirk Cousins could prove all the doubters wrong. Do I think that's going to happen with how the Vikings' luck has gone? No. So, I agree. I'm going 49ers. I don't expect it to be a very pretty matchup, just how these two teams have been last week and potentially missing their best players. I know the Vikings will definitely be missing their best player, Justin Jefferson, for a few more weeks. It's not going to be a fun game, but 49ers will win. And I think Ayuk, you play him. I think this should be another Kittle week for the 49ers. So I would fire him up. I think that Mitchell is still the running backup to own. I think it's kind of iffy the way that their backfield is right now, but I think Mason or Mitchell should, either one of them should get run this week if CMC is out. So get one of them at least, and don't count on that one to be the primary. Just prepare yourself that the other one could end up blowing up. Um, I'd have to start Madison if I'm desperate. You might have to even if I'm not desperate. Hawkinson, Addison, Cousins. So I'm starting all those guys. I'm not starting Osborne. I don't think he's very good. So yeah, that's it. So 49ers for
Because
me.
he's not a son.
All right. Yeah, that's right. He's not a son. Um, okay, well that does it for another episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this week 7 primer episode. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps, guys.
Man, this season is flying by, but our listeners can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2EFantasy. And with our handle at N2EFantasy on all social media platforms, please give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.